On this episode of Doing the Most, we're going to cover 15 homebrewing hacks.
Homemade brews and various how-tos, everything from mead to roast, bake creation, fermentation, inebriation, doing the most.
Now you could call them hacks, you could call them tips and tricks, but whatever they are, we've also done 2 other videos on homebrewing hacks. If you would like to see 20 other homebrewing hacks, check out both of those previous videos. There will be links down in the description. There's no reason to fill this video with fluff, so let's get down to it. Number 1, Carbonation Drops. Recently I saw a comment from a colleague of mine calling Carbonation Drops useless things. And while I understand where this colleague is coming from, given that it is typically appropriate to calculate the exact amount of priming sugar you want for the exact volume of carbonation you want in your bottles, I think that carbonation drops are a nice cheat, particularly for beginner brewers. And if you follow the channel, you've seen me using them recently because I don't like bottle conditioning, and I think carbonation drops, which are just pre-measured doses of dextrose that you can use to prime individual bottles, I think they're a perfectly okay and acceptable solution if you want to cut a couple of corners in your homebrewing. If you want to level up, use a priming sugar calculator, choose the priming sugar that you're working with, be it honey or dextrose or cane sugar, and input your information there and calculate the proper priming sugar. But if you're just looking to quick prime some bottles, I think carbonation drops are an easy way of doing it. Number 2, keep chopsticks handy in your brew space. This one's actually fairly simple, and I keep a whole thing of chopsticks up here in my gear shelf. But chopsticks can come in relatively handy. We like to use them sometimes on the show to do honey tastings, snap them in half, swirl them around in the honey, taste it. Bamboo is an environmentally friendly material, so you're not really doing any harm to the environment by using them, and they're also multi-purpose. So you drop something down in the neck of your carboy and you're trying to get it out. Chopsticks can be an easy way of retrieving it. Whether you need stir sticks, grabbers, tasting sticks, whatever, some cheap, inexpensive, and disposable bamboo chopsticks are a good option. Number 3, keep your notes strapped to your carboy. This one's fairly simple and not really something you see in my homebrew space, but I take gratuitous digital notes on pretty much everything that's going on in here, as well as having a video record of everything that I'm brewing up. But it might improve your workflow to have your notes easily accessible, strapped to your carboy. You want things in there like your gravity readings, fermentation temperature, when it started, when it finished, things like that. For this one here, I just used a recipe card, a hole punch, and a rubber band to strap that on there. That way you never quite forget what's going on inside the jug. Number 4, Zest for every problem. Okay, not every problem, but if you've got a brew that's maybe just a little too delicate, maybe not enough nuance, needs just a little bit of something in there to zhuzh it up, a little bit of zest, citrus zest, can go a long way. For example, I'm working right now on an acerglyn recipe. An acerglyn is a mead made also with maple syrup, and it just needed a little bit of something. And I ended up oaking it, but also I decided to put just a little bit of orange zest in there in secondary. And while the orange flavor doesn't really jump out, it added a whole other layer of complexity that is unexpected in the brew and really hefts up the maple syrup and honey flavors. So, do you have a piment that's just lacking a little something? Or maybe a braggot that just needs a little edge, a little zing on it? Try a little citrus zest. Maybe some grapefruit, lemon, lime. It might fundamentally transform your brew. Number 5, there's almost always a substitution. Say you get down to brass tacks and you're ready to start a brew and you're missing something. And maybe the local homebrew store is closed, but the grocery store is open. Generally, for almost every ingredient, there's some substitution. There's substitutions for hops, for yeast, for nutrients, for different fruit adjuncts, for different spices. And this is a great time for me to plug our Discord server. That's discord.doingthemost.org. It's basically like an old school chat room, and our Discord server is full of brilliant homebrewers that are ready and willing to help. So missing an ingredient and looking for a substitution, I would jump onto our Discord server and ask, because there's almost always a substitution. Number 6, Starter kits for replacement gear. Yeah, I know this one sounds kind of weird, but starter kits, like beginner introductory kits, are a pretty good way of replacing gear that's lost or broken. Now granted, say you wanted a hydrometer, you're going to spend a little bit more to get a beginner mead or winemaking kit that comes with a hydrometer. But it's also going to come with a ton of other gear that's all bundled at a discount. Our local homebrew store sells beginner winemaking kits that come with a couple of buckets, hydrometer, hoses, racking system, all of that stuff, and it's a lot cheaper than buying all the pieces individually. So if you're looking to expand your home brewery or winery or meadery, then it's a good opportunity to just go ahead and make that investment. Starter kits, it's like they're having a sale every day. And to that point, number 7, keep an inventory of your supplies. This is something I've definitely learned over the years, and especially since we started this YouTube channel. I keep a running list of stuff that's low or has run out. And then when I'm ready to order new homebrewing supplies or make a trip to my local homebrewing store, I've got a ready-made shopping list of everything that I need to pick up. Run a little bit low on fermento, almost emptied out your bottle of Starzan, add it to the list. Keeping an inventory will keep you in check so you're not missing ingredients or gear when you need them. Also from BC's Bargain Basement, number 8, always check the freezer section for deals on fruit. Whether you make mead or wine or fruited beers, it's always a good idea to check the freezer section for fruit deals. Maybe it's fruit that's getting close to an expiration date, or maybe it's fruit that's going out of a season. Quite often, grocery stores will have sales deals on frozen fruit. We've got a market just up the street that has blueberries for half off of what I would normally purchase them at a regular grocery store or wholesale market. I'm talking like $1 a pound for blueberries, and their freezer section has been full of them for like a month. I can guarantee you I will have another blueberry brew going soon. The freezer section, it's like a rotating clearance section. Always swing by. Number 9, steal a taster every time. Now this one is a lot easier for us who brew 3, 5, or 7 gallon batches, but you can do it with a 1 gallon batch also. Get yourself some of those little 187 milliliter bottles, or even some of those little airplane bottles, and steal just a little bit of your brew every time you do something to it. Take a sample when it goes into secondary. Take a sample before you add an adjunct to it. Take a sample before you transfer into tertiary. Take a sample at bottling. And that will give you several samples you can use to track the development of the flavor profile along the way. And if you're only stealing just a little bit, then you're not really impacting the amount of headspace in the top. Now, I don't recommend this for all brews, but for a brew that you're gonna be doing the most to, it's really nice to see how that progress tracked over the course of the brew. Then if you decide you wanna brew it again, but you've also decided that you've gone too far, you've done too much, then you always have those little save states where you can rewind back to and say, okay, I wanna get here, but maybe we don't add the hibiscus in tertiary. So if you're developing a recipe, steal a few tasters. And then once it's finished, you can line them all up, taste through them vertically, and see how your brew progressed. One quick important note on that, you do want to make sure that the brew is degassed before you steal those little taster bottles, or at least your taster samples are degassed, because you don't want to create little tiny bottle bombs. Nobody likes bottle bombs. Number 10, steeping bags for adjuncts. What I'm talking about here is these little paper tea bags. Environmentally friendly, super effective. Say you want to add some dry hops to a beer or a mead in primary. Using a steeping bag that you can secure by the lid of the bucket and then pull out later saves you a lot of mess. You can use these for spices like cinnamon sticks, cloves, nutmeg. You could use them for zest. Make life easier on yourself. Use a steeping bag when you can. Number 11, erythritol for back sweetening. Now I'm not going to go into all of it. We've got a video about how erythritol is our favorite non-fermentable sweetener. And that's the operative phrase there, non-fermentable sweetener. That video has all sorts of information about why you would want to use a non-fermentable sweetener, and we also rank the non-fermentable sweeteners by taste. Our favorite is erythritol, and it's great specifically if you want to sweeten a brew and also bottle condition it. But for real, just check out that video for more information. Number 12, get yourself a hanging scale. I got this one on eBay years ago for just a few bucks. They're super cheap and super simple. And look how happy this is. Look at that little smile. Why a hanging scale instead of, a regular food scale? Because sometimes it's easier to weigh stuff on a hanging scale. Say you wanted to weigh a bunch of fruit. Say you're a high school math problem. You want to weigh 62 oranges. Well, you could put a reusable shopping bag on here, weigh it, tear it out, so that way it zeroes out your scale, and then fill that bag with your 62 oranges. Hang that from your hanging scale, and you'll know how much those oranges weigh. Get yourself a hanging scale. I promise you will find yourself using it a lot more than you think you would. Number 13, buckets for primary. This tip is targeted toward very, very beginner brewers, but buckets. Food grade plastic buckets with a grommet that you can stick an airlock in. Brewing in buckets is going to save you a lot of stress. You don't want to fill up a 1 gallon jug with fruit and try and ferment it. For one, you're going to blow out your airlock as the carbon dioxide pushes that fruit up and out the neck of your jug. And for two, you can get a 2 gallon bucket and have plenty of room for fruit and adjuncts that you would never have in a 1 gallon vessel. And this 1 gallon vessel, say you did fill it up with 3 pounds of fruit, your yield on the other side is going to be like a half gallon yield. Scaled up to the 5 gallon batches I do, it's really nice to be able to just fill up a bucket with your brew, let everything settle out, and then transfer off to a glass carboy when you need to transfer to secondary. The bucket has a handle. I can move it around really easily. If I need to take it up to the attic to get it hot, or I need to bring it down here to get it cold, I can do that without doing a tango with a 5 gallon glass carboy full of liquid. Buckets for primary. I don't always do it, but I definitely do it when I know it's gonna make life a lot easier. Number 14, milk crates for carboys. Now this is one that I don't do, but I need to do, because carboys these days, these big glass carboys, are being made a lot more cheaply than they were back in the day, which means they're a lot more fragile. Enter the milk crate. You can put your glass carboy into a milk crate and use the handles on the milk crate to carry it. This puts less stress on, say, that fragile neck of the carboy when you're carrying it around your house or moving it around your brew space. Also, God forbid your carboy suddenly shatters, as I've had happen, most of the glass is going to be contained within that milk crate rather than spreading itself all around your floor, containing most of the sharp, stabby part of the mess to a centralized location. At some point, I need to invest in a bunch of milk crates. And finally, number 15, melter or baker's honey for cheap mead. Melter and baker's honey is just cheaper than a lot of other honey. And that's because it's kind of like the final dregs of the honey after the honey has gone through the production line. Often it has been heated, and heated enough to change the character of the honey. But you know what it's great in? Things that can use a caramel or toffee kind of flavor, or a bochet. If you're already going to be caramelizing your honey, why get good honey when you can get melter or baker's honey? It's still perfectly good honey, and you're going to be caramelizing the heck out of it anyway, so get it at a reduced cost. I recently had a rotomel sent to me by a friend and subscriber on the channel, and it used melter honey. And just that light note of warm richness from that honey having been slightly heat treated actually really complemented the floral flavors of the rotomel in a really interesting way that wouldn't have existed if he had used a different kind of honey. So for some applications, melter honey, baker's honey works great. I hope this list was helpful. Again, we have 2 other videos with homebrewing hacks, tips, and tricks that you can check out, which puts us at a total of 35 hacks, tips, and tricks for homebrewers. Not bad. What are your homebrewing tips? Drop a comment and let us know. If you like this video, I hope you'll hit that thumbs up and maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so you'll get more of our homebrewing content in your YouTube feed. You can check us out on Instagram and Pinterest at doingthemostok. Our website's doingthemost.org, and we have a Discord server at discord.doingthemost.org. We're also on Twitch at doingthemostok. Until next time, happy brewing.